When people think about immersion or study abroad or immersive experiences, they usually have an intuitive sense that the outcomes will be better than, let's say, in a classroom. Now, we don't have to just rely on that intuition because there's a lot of science behind it. That's what I want to talk about today. But for you to just get the gist of it, essentially what happens is that in a classroom setting, you have one teacher to many students. When you go study abroad or experience immersion, very often you will find yourself in a setting that has many teachers to one student. So essentially, it's flipping the ratio from one teacher to many students to many teachers to one student. Let me explain. Benjamin Bloom and his students at the University of Chicago did a study in 1984 in which they compared the performance of students in a classroom setting versus students in a tutoring setting or one-to-one. The one thing about the one-to-one tutoring was that they were using a mastery model, which essentially means that you move to the next level only after you master the current level. What is remarkable about that study is that they found that the performance of the average student, in a one-to-one tutoring setting was better than 98% of the students in a classroom setting. The students in a classroom setting, their performance was distributed along a bell curve, and the same thing for the students in a tutoring setting. But as you can see, the average student in a one-to-one tutoring did better than 98% of the students in a classroom setting. This was absolutely remarkable. And since then, anybody who's really concerned about learning outcomes, who's thinking about what is it that we need to do in order to improve classroom performance, can use that as a baseline. And it has in many ways become the holy grail of education. So a natural question would be, what are the elements in one-to-one tutoring that lead to such an improvement in performance? And to answer that question, the best place that we can go to is evidence-based research, in which researchers look at what is the impact of an intervention. For instance, if we put a whiteboard in a classroom, or if we give one laptop per child, and the impact that these things have are measured in terms of effect size. And an impact size of 0.4 means that you will get a year's worth of improvement during an academic year. Anything below that contributes but doesn't contribute much, and anything above that actually takes you beyond an academic year. So let's take a laptop per child, for instance. What is the effect size? Not very big. It's around 0.2. How about teacher pay? Would that make a big difference? Turns out not very big. How about teacher training? Well, it turns out it's 0.11. The interesting thing about interventions in education is that just about anything has a positive impact. Corporal punishment, for instance, doesn't have a positive impact, has a negative impact. But just about anything, like if you bring a banana to the students in the classroom, it'll have some sort of impact, but maybe not significant. When you look at the interventions that lead to significant improvement, then you will begin to identify some of the interventions that happen in a one-to-one tutoring setting that are more difficult to have in a classroom setting. For example, feedback. And feedback, by the way, cannot be just, hey, Johnny, you're so smart. It has to be, hey, Johnny, you almost got it. Here's what you need to do to get it right. Another intervention that has an enormous impact is formative assessment. And what that means is assessing not for grade, but for comprehension. Did you get it? So for instance, in a one-to-one tutoring setting, the tutor can look at the students and say, did you not get it? Do you need me to explain it again? And so it is right there, and the remediation happens right on the spot. We can talk about these in more details later, but what happens when you study abroad or have an immersive experience is that, say you're from Asia and you're going to study English and you go study in New York. You go to Starbucks and order coffee and you say, I would like coffee. And the guy goes, excuse me, what would you say? I would like coffee. You say, sorry, I don't understand what you're saying. He's giving the student feedback. He's giving this person feedback. And when he says, did you say you would like some coffee? He is then giving them a model of what he needs to do in order to improve performance. So, yes, I would like a coffee. At the same time, when he says, would you like some milk with that? And the person says, sorry, he's also giving formative assessment because he's realizing that the person didn't understand. Would you like milk? Do you want milk with it? Sure, they're not professional tutors, but they are in many different ways playing the role of a tutor. So they're giving you feedback, they're giving you formative assessment, they're giving you many of the interventions that are important in a one-to-one tutoring setting. And the way this is happening is beautiful because as I said in the beginning, what is happening is that you're flipping the ratio from one teacher to many students to many tutors to one student. And that is where the power of immersion comes from.